Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits. Second episode of the new year. First one we're recording actually in the new year. We have a super special guest. As always, my man Richie Hustles, who is one of the larger retail arbitrage YouTubers and a full-time Amazon arbitrage seller as well. So we're excited to hear how he got started, building a reselling business with the family, with the full-time job, eventually becoming a full-time reseller and all that. So Richie, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We've streamed in the past. I've definitely watched some of your content in the past as well. So good, we can get you on the podcast as well. But for our viewers who might not be familiar with your story and how you got started, do you want to take us back to the beginning of your reselling journey?
Yeah, so I mean, if we go all the way back to the year of 2018, is when I actually started reselling around September, October, and I kind of just started with honestly hating my boss. To tell you the truth, I couldn't stand my boss at the time, and I was kind of looking for an outlet out, but I actually held a pretty good job. So for me, I thought it was even more tough because how do you walk? So I worked for Bank of America, big bank, managed a center, a couple centers in Boston, Massachusetts, making a six-figure salary with bonuses, quarterly bonuses, I guess great room for growth possibly. In the banking sector, because there's so many different positions you can carry. But having that kind of job, having that six-figure income, and then saying, you know what, how do I leave this? How do I get away from this? So really just started watching videos on my extremely long commute, 2 hours into work, 2 hours out of work, driving to a train station. Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts, honestly, but it really bought me a lot of time to look at YouTube videos. So that's kind of what I did. And I watched people like the OGs, Reezy Resells, and some other YouTubers and stuff like that were out there at the time. They were selling, and they kept saying at the time, the big thing was selling books and sneakers. So at the time, Nike was this big talk. I feel like I don't hear about Nike too much anymore.
No one could get ungated back in the day. No one even thought about it getting ungated.
Yeah, and it was like this holy grail. And since I couldn't do that, I kind of chose the latter because as a new reseller, I went into Walmart and I was doing all these scanning and I couldn't sell anything. So I said, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. So I started to do books. And what I did was I took $20 into a library and they had book sales. I remember those books in this vestibule, and the library is right next to the banking center on Cambridge Street in Boston that I was working at. I would go on my lunch break and I remember going with $20 and I remember buying 16 books at 50 cents a piece because the guy gave me a deal. He was like, you want them all for 50 cents? Because I guess hardcovers were $1, soft covers and paperbacks were 50 cents. But he ended up giving me 16 books for 50 cents each. So I only spent $8 and I got change back from my 20. I'll never forget it. And I used that money, sent it in. I paid for, at the time, I didn't pay for a pro membership for Amazon, sent my books in, sold them, turned that into $50 around that. I think it was like $48, $49, call it $50. And I was kind of just like, okay, beginner's luck. Let me try again. Took that money, bought more books from the same place, sent them in, made more money. Then I started going to different libraries on the weekends for book sales and whatnot. I was getting like 1 or 2 bags of books at bag sales where they charge you like $5 generally, $5, $7, $8 a bag. You could fill your bag up for as many books as you want at the library. And I would just do that every weekend or after work. So generally, I mean, I started out as basically a book seller, and I still like books. I have a second Amazon that I sell books on. So I started with books, and that's kind of where I came from, and kind of slowly crept into retail arbitrage because I don't know about you, but toys to me were a little bit more interesting than going into smelly, dusty libraries. So I started dipping into Walmart retail arbitrage as I told myself every $1,000. So eventually I scaled up to like at least $1,000. And I said to myself, every $1,000 that I take home, I'm going to take 100 and go into retail arbitrage. Because everybody kept telling me, oh, if you don't know what you're doing, you can get burned. People take the price, this and that, like start out slow. So for every 1,000, I took 100 and kind of went into little dollar items, $2 items. And then I started to get greedy. And then I started taking like 500 from the 1,000 and going in 600 because I was making money. And then when there wasn't enough money to for me to take, because I refused to take any money out of my savings account. It was something I wasn't sure of. You know what I mean? So I eventually started driving for DoorDash and Uber Eats, 2 phones on the car after work, making about $1,000 to $1,200 a week, and taking that money, dipping it into Amazon. Did that for about a year, every day religiously. Missed good mornings with my daughters, good night with my daughters, like talking about leaving for work in the morning and then coming home and everybody's sleeping. You know what I mean? So there was about a good year that there was just complete physical and emotional sacrifice. I could just go on and on and on about it, but that's kind of basically where I came from.
And so you were definitely hustling. Some might even call that hustleaholic.
Yes.
The hustleaholic himself. I guess you're following, I guess. I mean, I'm definitely a hustleaholic as well. I know we had some streams and stuff. We've gone over that and everything, but okay, that's very cool. And once again, that's only 3 years ago. You know what I mean? I think we underestimate how much you can get done clearly in those years, going from that, I think you said $18 or $16 and building out, you know, now what you need to support your family and everything. And what you currently do is mostly retail arbitrage, toys and clearance items, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What I'm doing is retail arbitrage, and I'm kind of getting into more and more of online arbitrage as well. Non-toy, so health and beauty, that type of stuff for online arbitrage. Just seems like Amazon is making it harder and harder for third-party sellers to sell toys, or at least try to be in compliance with toys. But
yeah, it's interesting
toys.
The way pretty much only toys, from what I've experienced, has been affected by a lot of the compliance documents and stuff like that, which normally don't end up being too much of an issue from what I've heard, but I definitely psych out a lot of people just based on the messages I've got around.
I feel like it's because that has to do with toys, children, and that kind of stuff. Probably why. But I have a question going back to when you started doing the books. So you said you were going on like your lunch break and going to libraries. What did you tell any of your coworkers or your family what you were doing? And if you did, what were their kind of thoughts on you going on your lunch break to a library and grabbing used books?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I really didn't tell anybody. It just kind of seemed simple because I was bringing back to work just like one paper bag full of books. I guess the employees started questioning me about what I was doing when I would bring back 5, 6, 8 bags of books, and then kind of like walking them to my car after work. I didn't tell my family at first for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't think that they would understand. And 2, at the time, even I thought it was crazy. Like I thought to myself, how am I ever gonna be able to leave this good paying job to go off on myself and into business for myself, you know, selling books? Like what? I'm going to leave this job to go sell books, get to pay. And the things that kept turning in my head was like health insurance and stuff like that. But I mean, it's not that I really cared what anybody thought as far as like family and whatnot, but I kind of figured I didn't want to answer any questions. You know what I mean? Because I knew the questions were going to come down the line, especially from my father. My father's going to be like, you're going to leave that, you have a good job, you know, good benefits, good 401k, all this stuff, right? You know, how was I going to explain to him that I was going to go in smelly libraries and sell used books, you know?
Yeah,
so
yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry.
I didn't even know. I didn't even really mention it until to my father until I was a little bit more than halfway replacing my salary, because things started to become pretty serious with that.
Yeah, and the learning curve, I was doing a consult literally like 45 minutes ago, and we were talking about, just the guy I was on with, how the learning curve is kind of exponential in the way that when you're new, you have to learn how to create a shipment, how to read a Keepa chart, how to list a product, all that. But a lot of stuff, once you learn it once, you know how to do it. Then it's just, acquiring products once you know how to send stuff in, reprice. That camera quality was hitting just there on that for the YouTube viewers. But yeah, literally, you only have to learn that stuff a few times. And coming back to what you said about telling your family, that's always one of the most interesting questions I think we can ask people, because everyone has such a diverse answer to what their parents or what their just family and stuff thinks about it. Now, I'm curious, what do they think about it now? I'm sure their opinion has probably changed and everything now that they see what you're up to now, but love to hear kind of an elaboration on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, my father was probably the biggest one for me to tell. And I remember being I think we were either in McDonald's or Burger King, and I went up to visit him, and I wanted to tell him, I was like, Dad, I was like, I'm thinking about quitting my job. My mother always left it in my power. Like, she was always like, well, you know what you're gonna do. If you mess up, then that's on you. It was kind of just, my mother was always like, if you screw this up, then you need to figure out how you're gonna come out of it. But my father was kind of hesitant to allow me to screw up. So when I remember sitting down in that Burger King or McDonald's, and we were sitting there, and I said, I'm thinking about quitting my job. I said, but the only thing that's really stopping me is I need to make a little bit more money to really kind of take over my current income. But then I actually need to make more than what I'm taking home, because I'm going to have to pay for benefits. And it's not just me that I'm worrying about. It's my wife. My wife is stay-at-home mom with our two daughters. I have two daughters, 1 6 and 1 2 now. At the time that I had the conversation, it was 4, and we had a second one on the way. So, and I think he kind of sat and he actually listened to me, which I was kind of shocked. And he looked at me, he said, well, you know what you need to do. Like, I don't know. I can't tell you what I think you should do, because, you know your bills, you know your situation, you know what your business is doing. He said, he looked at me and he goes, just make sure you don't fuck up. He's like, because it's not just you.
Not a bad point.
You need to worry about. So told me don't fuck up. And I looked at him and I said, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna make it work, and made it work, I guess, for now, knock on wood, right?
Yeah. And you had a good situation there a little while where you had the 9 to 5 was like kind of part-time, or at least part-time hours there. You kind of eased into it. And I think that's something from someone who never ended up going, like, having to go the corporate route. A lot of people are taking advantage of, like, work from home jobs that end up being part-time hours, and kind of, finessing around different stuff. And I think that's, in today's economy, being that you can work from home, different things like that, really nice. So that's cool that you've kind of been able to do some of that and eventually get out of it fully. And when was it, in respect to you getting started in 2018, that you started thinking it was possible to go full time, and then ultimately did, in terms of at least the part-time hours with the 9 to 5 and everything that we talked about in August?
I've always, it's hard to explain. So I started doing the Amazon thing in September of October. By April of the following year, 2019, I knew that I wanted to do this full time, and I wanted to make this a business. So I actually set up an LLC around March or April. I started an LLC, and then around March, April, I formed an LLC, and I decided that this is what I wanted to do. And if I was going to do this full time, I was going to have to work extremely hard to get to where I want to be because of my current situation. Sometimes I feel like people that don't have the good job or don't have that 6-figure income, the wife and the kids, I almost feel like sometimes it could be an advantage and they don't even know it.
Absolutely.
Because I think to myself, I'm like, if I was a single guy with no kids, not married, no house, no car, right? I'm not like seriously tied to anything, right? I probably would have quit my job when I formed my LLC, but everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
Some people that might not have that good job, might not have that extra capital to start up the Amazon business to begin with. It could go both ways. But I knew I wanted to do it seriously. And then, coming up to August, when I quit of last year, August 3rd was the date. I still have the letter sitting on my bureau over there. I actually was sent home in March of 2020 to, like you were saying, to work from home. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I feel like it was almost a blessing. Not the whole, I won't say the names of the 19 and all this other stuff for issues of the video, but, but it kind of worked out, me being sent home, in my favor.
Yeah, for a lot of people, obviously a ton of people were negatively affected, but in some ways there were obviously, positive shifts and everything that did happen to some of us.
The reselling community, the reality of it is the reselling community completely benefited from almost everything in regards to the World Health event.
Totally.
It absolutely exploded. And then the interest in it also exploded as well. There was exponential growth of new Amazon seller accounts being created. all eyes were kind of on, at least people who were thinking about online business, all eyes were on reselling, Amazon and stuff like that. So it was,
Yeah,
really
and
cool.
just the way, and people always talk about Amazon being saturated, and I don't have numbers to back this up, but like the exponential growth of more and more people buying stuff online outpaces, I assume, the amount of new Amazon sellers, or at least serious Amazon sellers. Because I mean, Richie, you've been around for several years, 3 years. Danny and I have been doing Amazon since 2019. Like we've seen, very few people are still at it that were at least, in the content space and everything. And all of us that are still around, we're doing pretty well. Most of us are able to do it full time, which is amazing and everything, but it shows the perseverance and that, that while that 2 or 3 years seemed like a short time span, like to me, definitely, at the same time, to be able to do something consistently for that long a time, it shows that, why we're all getting results now, because we stuck with it for a while, and most people don't, as I'm sure you've noticed over the years.
And it's so crazy when we talk about 3 years ago, or a little over 3 years ago, because it seems like it's been an eternity. Like I literally feel like, and to go back to what you were saying about how when you're so dedicated to something each and every day, right? It's not like you're good this week and then you take a couple weeks off, you come back and revisit. Like every day there's something that has to do with your reselling business or business in general. And when you do that every day for over 3 years, it really seems, I feel like I've been reselling for 10 years. And sometimes I have to kind of take myself back and be like, I don't know everything there is about reselling. You know what I mean? I learn every day.
Yeah.
So
and I think
like
that's exciting, man. I totally think that's exciting.
Totally.
Like being that, both of us are, me and you at least, are constantly putting stuff out. So we build a network of other sellers and everything. Luckily, Danny's kind of grandfathered into that. But that's where it really comes in, man. The way that you learned from people when you were getting started, and you eventually became one of those resources that other people can now learn from. And I'm sure, based on the amount of people that go to your live streams and everything, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of messages saying, thank you, I've just been able to do this, made this money and everything. And that's very fulfilling to me as well. I'm sure it is for you. And that's totally a beautiful thing.
So it's super, super fulfilling. It's not something I really ever expected, because I went back to the whole reason why I created YouTube was the whole Gary Vee mantra of document versus create. And I kind of said to myself, well, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. But what's the worst that can happen?
Nothing.
I'm already here at the stores.
Yeah.
I might as well record while I'm here. So that's kind of the mentality I had. And, I'd be a fool to sit here and think there were no mental obstacles on the way. I think I put out over 200 videos before I was even monetized and paid a cent for any of them. So to put out, it took me well over a year, because I wasn't doing it every day like I am now. I was doing maybe 2 a week, maybe 3 a week. Maybe somebody can get monetized sooner if you did it every day. I don't know. That depends on the YouTube algorithm and what it picks up on and whatnot. And that's a whole other conversation. But as far as documenting versus create, I just said to myself, what's the worst that can happen? It's just another way to try to get out there in the world. And then now where you said I have, do have messages coming in saying, thank you, you've changed. Like there are some messages that almost tear you up. Like, and it's just like, wow, it's like, you're really paying attention. I'm not and I know this, and my channel isn't made to be a very technical channel. I think my channel is a balance between buying something for cheap, being able to sell it on a platform, right? And kind of leaving it up to you to figure out how you could get this item and sell it on the platform. The other half is kind of entertainment, right? Like where I just kind of throw my personality, I throw myself out there, and I put myself out there in front of the camera, whether it's for the good or whether it's for the bad. It's who I am. So, deciding to do that, I never expected to actually get messages to say, hey, I was almost homeless and I started with, $100 and you showed me this product and I bought it and I flipped it and this and that and all this other stuff. And it's crazy, some of the stories you hear. But it really kind of humbles you and been like, wow, like, I think it even hits me more because that wasn't even my intention to help you, but you were helped by my content, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I think there's a couple takeaways from that, being that, algorithms are very good. They're good at finding who, wants to see that content and everything. And just naturally, if you constantly put stuff out, you answer questions, you just naturally help people, whether that was the intention or not. And yeah, I agree totally. Getting those messages is super cool and everything. And, being that it's just been a few years, there's going to be more and more people that found us, a year ago, 2 years ago, that are starting to hit that point where they're figuring stuff out. If they've been going at it for a while, that they can really make some money with it. I'm sure that'll just continue those messages coming in. So that's very commendable what you've done. It's obviously good. 4 million views. I think you hit the other day or something. Maybe
Yeah,
today you
we had
posted
4 million views on the 5th. Yep.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's that is surely a lot of views there, and I'm sure probably more than you expected to get, back in the day. But very, very cool.
Definitely.
There.
And just real quick, I kind of want to go back like one step a little bit. So there's a lot of people that watch us, and they're thinking about getting started. And for the people that are like Miles and I, who have had no obligations, there's pretty much no excuse to get you really have no excuses. Like
just the time to screw stuff up, both in free time and time.
Pretty much what I'm asking is for the people that do have like pretty much valid excuses, like the high paying job,
responsibility.
Wife, kids, like you have legitimate responsibilities. There's people, their lives depend on you. How do you get over those limiting beliefs? Or how did you get over those kind of mental obstacles when you were thinking about, or like when you were telling your father, I'm going to quit my job? Like, how did you kind of deal with that mentally? Because I know there's people watching that are currently struggling with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a great question. And we could definitely jump down the fucking darkness of that rabbit hole, because it can get really dark emotionally and in your mind, especially when you're thinking about taking care of other people. So, when you have that, quote unquote, good job, right? What's the definition of a good job, right? You're either happy or miserable, whatever it is, whatever your definition of a good job is, maybe you have a good paying job, whatever it is. I think some of the obstacles that I don't know. To answer that question, it really kind of goes back. I mean, I could really just sit here and tell you, well, I just don't give a fuck, but it's more mental than that. Like, there's been so many times where I've fought with myself, almost borderline tears, literally sitting in my car like this, just being like, I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I want to do this, or how am I going to support my family? I'm so close. Why can't I just do it? Why can't I just, why? Like, why? And you start having this, almost like, I call it like reseller depression, where like you do so good and then things change, right? But maybe you didn't adapt quick enough and you were doing great sales and then it just kind of falls off a cliff. And where you're inexperienced, you kind of panic and you're like, oh my God, this sucks. I'm going to leave my job for this. Maybe this isn't cut out for me. Maybe I don't know what to do. I don't know what, and you start like, at least I was just kind of fighting with myself all the time. There's been 3 instances where I literally almost quit. I just said, you know what, this isn't fucking working for me. I'm just going to be in the banking sector miserable with my boss, and that's just going to be me. It is what it is. This is the life I have. And then honestly, I started talking with bigger resellers than me, like bigger resellers with bigger minds, bigger pockets. For instance, like Amazon Lit, Larry, Watch Me Amazon. Me and Larry talk pretty frequently, you know what I mean? Even when it's about family stuff, where he's got, kids and I got kids, we always comment, whatever. But I remember sending Watch Me Amazon, Larry, a message, and I asked him, I said, man, I'm really struggling right now. I said to him, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how much is enough to be able to support my family on this job. And like, then what do I do about, and I wrote this big, long tirade to him, right? And he sent me this like 2-sentence answer. And I was almost afraid to like open it. And I opened it and it said, only you're going to know when enough is enough. And then because I told him like how much I made in the bank and stuff like that. And he said, the second sentence said to me, he goes, wow, he's like, 100K, that's a good salary. He goes, but don't let 100K prevent you from making 500K. Don't look at it as, I make good money here in this, like in the bank, when you could just blow through that ceiling working for yourself. Just depends on just how much work you want to put into it. So that really stuck with me. And then there was a random IG I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. He said that he loved my content and I really helped him out. And, it was one of those emails where he said, I really helped him and his family. And now he's doing like, 30 at the time it was 30 to 40,000 a month in wholesale. And, they're so thankful for me putting out content because that's what helped him get started buying and selling stuff. And he said to me, he goes, I noticed you're trying to quit your job. Because at the time I was putting up posts on, when's a good time? Like, how do I know when I want to quit my job? I was trying to grasp for any bit of information. And he said he went the whole route of, burn your boat. If you want to take the island, you need to burn the boat. And that really stuck in my head.
No plan B.
Plan B. Because, when I said I got to stay home, I was almost getting comfortable because not only was I home, but I wasn't assigned any projects at the bank. I literally, for like about 8 months, maybe almost 8 to 10 months, I literally did not have to sign on to a computer, and I simply collected a paycheck on the 15th and the 30th. It would go in, and that would be it. So if you could imagine, literally, if you ever thought about getting paid from a job, especially a 6-figure job, for not doing anything, this was the 8 to 10 month time period of my life where that literally happened. Most of that money I invested into crypto, which is a whole other conversation.
Cardano?
All of it. No, I've actually sold a lot of my position in Cardano.
Oh, interesting. For another podcast.
Another conversation, yeah.
Miles, your mic.
But the point of just knowing that I had that dispensable money to put into crypto at the time was telling me, well, if things don't work out, you have this money. You're getting paid on the 15th. Don't worry. You can use this. Use your mortgage money. It's okay. You're gonna get paid on the 30th. You can put it right back. Like, it was just all this comfortable thinking. And then once I was gone, it was kind of like, okay, it kind of went from comfort thinking to about a week of, oh shit thinking to, okay, strategic thinking, and now I pay health insurance out of pocket and all that other good stuff. And it's actually helped me better my finances. So
were you the one were you the one who coined the term burn your boat? Or because I remember
that's
seeing it
Tony Robbins. I
that is
think.
totally a Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
This was in August, and I remember seeing it on your feed, and I think you posted it.
I probably posted his, yes.
And so I was debating. I was debating at the time moving to Miami, and I saw it. And after I watched that video, I told my parents, I was like, "Look, I'm burning the fucking boat. I'm moving to Miami." And then right there, I swear to God, after I watched that video, I was like, I got to burn the boat. I got to do it. No plan B, full steam ahead. And then that's what I did. Yeah. That's a great thing. I love that. No plan B. Cause then you're focused on the backup. You got to be focused on the mission at hand, but don't be irresponsible. Like, I'm sure you wouldn't be children and stuff like that, but
is my mic sounding good again?
You're good now, Miles.
Okay, cool. So a couple takeaways from that piece there. One, the social media side of things really helped you on that point because you could talk to other people. You were in a network of other resellers, were tapped into that. And that the way to quickly validate, an idea, get feedback for something, or just, get, like you were saying, get, other people's input on something is very, very valuable. Why everyone should be on social media. Side point there. But also, you were kind of thinking emotionally, I think, or at least I find myself thinking emotionally about stuff. But then when you look at the numbers that Amazon provides and everything, this is just, kind of a side point. But when you're thinking logically based on the numbers, it's very cut and dry that if you get the right products, they will sell and you will make money. You know what I mean? And that's just thinking logically over thinking emotionally, which luckily in this business, we're given tons of data that we can then validate to make, educated decisions that should put money in our pocket.
It's like hard to believe sometimes. I remember the first time I sold something that wasn't a book on Amazon, and I remember it was merchant fulfilled.
Hand sanitizer.
I thought it was like a mistake. I saw it in pending, and I was like, "There's no way someone really just bought this."
Yeah, bro, for real.
To fulfill, it was so cool.
I was the same way. I was scared to do anything besides books for a while, for like a year and a half, to be honest, and only like 6 months of that I was actively doing Amazon. But yeah, I wouldn't even.
We were just so focused in the book niche,
and we weren't making any money either, man. We were grinding, and we were not making any money.
Looking back on it, I think the best way for books. I don't think I'd ever really advise bulk books. I mean, you can make good money.
It was different before, restock limits and everything.
True. I think going to the library sales and going to libraries is like the optimal way.
It's a really, really low cost way to get the sales rolling. But if you want to make any significant money, I would say get to arbitrage quick, online retail.
Books are such a good stepping stone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You could learn everything you need to know.
Yeah.
pretty much almost everything.
Yeah, definitely. With very little, borderline any capital
$20,
invested.
like Richie said, or $8.
Right? $8.
$8. And then
Yeah.
snowballed
And
into
so,
today.
And just snowballs,
Yeah. Oh, with everything. Definitely. So looking back on your journey thus far, specifically the beginner portion of it, what would you do differently, if any, if you could do it again, knowing what you know now?
I mean, there's probably a lot of things I would do differently. If I've probably messed up a lot of times, whether it was, I used to be, I guess if I could change anything in the back, what I would do differently is I wouldn't be such an emotional buyer. When I was first starting, and even up until the beginning of like 2020, for like the first couple of months, I tended to be this emotional buyer. And when I say emotional, you scan something, we'll just use toys because we all know what great ranks in toys are. Say it comes up as 11,000 in toys, which is a pretty good rank in toys, and you don't check keeper. You just like, oh, this is a great deal. This is a great deal. This is a $35 toy, $40 toy. It's $11. Oh my God, it's a ranked 11,000. I'm gonna buy them all. You clear the shelf, you buy 50, you spend $300 or whatever it is, whatever you spend. You buy it all. You get it home. You realize it's not in your inventory. So in my case, I was using Seller Central. I never really put stuff in. I didn't use Inventory Lab at first, and I still don't use it. But anyways, I would scan it. And I would go to put it in inventory, and the rank wouldn't be 11,000 anymore. It was like now 90,000. And I'm like, oh, why that jump? And then I would check Keepa, and I would use it, and I'd be like, oh, it's 11,000 because it's sold twice in the past like 60 days or whatever. So I'm like, and that happens with a lot of products. I at the beginning, I was under the assumption that sales rank changes all the time, every day. And it does. But like, if something is a high sales rank, it doesn't mean it's a bad product, right? Quite the reverse of what I'm talking about right now. So I would use Keepa, and I would use it more, and I wouldn't be such an emotional buyer because I've bought so many fucking bad products back in the day. Like it makes me nauseous just thinking about the amount of products that I would buy that at the beginning of my reselling, I would sell on eBay. And I remember having this death pile of stuff in my garage that I'd have to list on eBay, and I would hate to like even look at it. I don't like to list things. I don't want to do it. That means I have to take pictures. I have to list it. And some people can work like that. But the reason why Amazon is such a great and powerful system is because it kind of takes out that type of work. You can just send it in via FBA. But I never liked to list items like that. So, going back to, whatever it is, I just made a lot of emotional mistakes.
Yeah. And we can all relate
emotional
to
buying mistakes. So I would probably change it. I would probably focus more on the data instead of the emotion. And, I always say use Keepa for everything and scan everything, right? But a lot of times in my videos now, I don't use it as often as I did. And I'm not sure if that's maybe like with experience, because I'm always in these stores. So the chances are I probably already scanned it at some point. So I already know where the rank might be floating. But sometimes I forget, well, people are watching my video. So maybe I know, but maybe they don't know. So this year I made a promise to myself to stay a little bit more technical and a little bit more in depth as to why I'm doing something, as to, just this is what I'm doing.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so when someone like comments on a YouTube video or says like, how can I get started? What's the action plan in terms of going with retail arbitrage, kind of your model and everything that you recommend to people?
Yeah. So, a lot of people bring this up in the Friday night lives that I do, and they always ask, how do I get started selling on Amazon? And my thing is, you probably better put in that that exact question. How do I start selling on Amazon? Take that out of my chat and put it into a Google search bar. And then it's going to come up. It's going to come up Seller Central. So sometimes I believe in helping people, but I don't like to coddle people. For me, look, if you can't figure out how to sign up for an Amazon account, I don't think. And
a lot of people can't, or at least they won't go through the verification process and everything.
And again, this is me being me and me being human. I can't understand if I use Google all the time, even for the dumbest of questions, right? I think we all do.
Oh yeah.
But for somebody to ask me, how do I start selling on Amazon? It's a viable question. And I understand why you're asking me, right? Because maybe you're in the moment, as you know, I sell on Amazon. You're like, let me just ask this guy, hey, how do I sell, Amazon? But if people can't take that initiative upon themselves to try to figure out how to do something on a platform that they want to change their life, if you can't take that first step, it's not like you're asking me, hey, how do I read this keeper graph and why does this line does this? And you need some explanation. This is really like Google search questions. I'm just like, come on.
Yeah. And there's
you have to be capable of finding this out on your own, right? Like that self-accountability, like finding this out on your own. This is one of those questions where you can 100% find out on your own.
Yeah. And in the DMs, typically when you get a new message request, and there's obviously specific examples when this isn't the case, but you can tell whether someone's going to be successful when they say, how do I get started? Help me get started. Or they say, I got my account. I just got my first sale. How do you think I just sold my first book. How should I get started with arbitrage? That's a question I'll answer all day because you showed that you put in the work and everything. And I know I can help you. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can help you when I have, 4 videos talking about how to get started and you've seen me post different things and you haven't thought of just doing it yourself and looking up how to get started selling on Amazon, which I'm sure comes up with Seller Central and everything. But yeah, there's definitely a good perspective there. And I think another Tony Robbins quote is something along the lines of the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions or something. Holds true for Amazon in regards to the DMs. Definitely.
A lot of those questions, though, I think can get answered in the mistakes we all made. That was the biggest thing for me when I was starting was like being able to make mistakes. And especially with the books, like if I labeled something wrong, like, all right, I sent in a box of books, I lose $5 or whatever in buy cost. I think the best way, in my opinion, to learn is trial by error. I mean,
that's the best way. How do you learn to drive a car?
Well, no, but
you don't watch YouTube videos on how to drive a car.
I mean,
go drive a car.
You could watch the YouTube videos, but I think a lot of people, they just constantly ask when like at some point you gotta just try it yourself. You gotta take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that a lot of times people will send me DMs that say, hey, do you offer courses? Because they want me to teach them. Do you offer courses? This and that. And my answer, I will always answer that question 100%. I say, I don't offer courses because I didn't take a course. I believe in the course of hard knocks, right? Like you have to fuck up. Like the person I am, I cannot learn. I can't pay thousands of dollars for a course, look at a computer screen and have somebody talk to me and have me absorb that and learn and go execute and then become this, big seller or whatever. I'm definitely more of a hands-on, let me try it before you buy it kind of thing. Like, let me get in there. Let me do what I got to do. And if I make a mistake, then I know not to make that mistake. It kind of absorbs a little bit better that way for me. And because I learned better that way, I don't believe in the whole, course thing. And well, I mean, I guess let me reframe that because like, I don't believe in courses that promise you scalability in your business. Like, I don't believe courses that is, hey, buy this course and you'll be able to take your business to the next level. Because if the person doesn't want to go to the next level, they're not going to the next level. It doesn't matter what you do for them. You know what I mean? I guess I can't say I'm against courses, right? Because we all go to school, we learn, we take tests, we train our brain, we read books, whatever it is. But like, I don't believe in the course that feeds people the option to be able to take their business to the next level when it's really inside of the person that's going to determine if they want to take their business to the next level, course or no course. I won't offer a course now because I don't know everything. Who am I to offer?
Definitely. Very well said. And for those of our viewers who want to follow up with you, who want to come to the streams tomorrow, actually, or no, it'll be tonight when you guys see this episode, Friday night stream. Where can everyone find you on socials?
Yeah. So at every social media at Richie Hustles. So YouTube, Richie Hustles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And, thank you for coming on. Definitely. I'm glad we could talk some game on retail arbitrage. I think that's an underutilized section of at least our content we put out, as well as you putting out tons of good beginner videos as well. Hopefully some of our audience goes and checks out as well. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you.
Good talking to you guys.
Good night.
Yeah, absolutely. See you guys in the next one.